All right. So first, the same preliminary motions for electronic meetings. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, this committee needs to make certain findings and determinations. First, because each member of the committee is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an approximate volume for all the other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each committee member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. Just going to look at the meeting minutes from last time for that. All right, Lisa. I think Lisa's going to be joining shortly. Jimmy?
Jimmy Bierman, yes, Jimmy Bierman, Drainsville. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
Richard Chu for Hunter Mill from Reston.
Thank you. Brian is absent tonight. Jerry?
I believe he's on through dial in. No,
Yeah, Jerry, if you just unmute and hear your voice quickly.
Hello.
Yep. All right, we can hear you. Thanks, Jerry. Denver? Okay, Denver just messaged. She's saying her teams can't connect. She's going to restart her computer. We'll circle back. Saif?
Yeah, Saif Rahman calling in from Falls Church, Virginia.
Thank you, sir. George?
George Becerra, Burke, Virginia.
Thank you. Janae?
Janae Lindner, Springfield District.
Thank you. Bill?
Bill Bowie, participating from my residence in Reston.
Thank you. Sam?
This is Sam Walker, sitting in Centerville.
Thank you. Alice?
This is Alice Wang, calling in from Mammoth Lakes, California.
Exotic. Thank you.
Yes.
Candy?
Yes, I am here in Annandale, Virginia.
Thank you. Prashant?
Prashant Rajan, calling from my home in Fairfax.
Thank you. Coretta? No, Coretta dialed in last time, so...
Yeah, we do have a few folks who have dialed in, and I guess once you go through everyone, I'd be happy to unmute everyone individually, so that if they are committee members, they can let us know, and I'll leave them unmuted.
Okay, thanks, Nat.
Yep.
Tim? Oh, I think Tim dialed in last time also. Going to try Denver one more time.
Denver Signature here. Sorry for the delay. Had issues with Teams.
All good, thank you. Okay, Nat, why don't you take it away with the dial-ins? See if we can find Coretta and Tim.
Sure. So again, everyone who is dialing in, if you hit *6, that'll unmute your device. So we're going to start with phone number ending in 9664. If you can hit *6, that'll unmute your device on your end. Call-in user, you had your hand up. Phone number ending in 9664. If you wouldn't mind hitting *6, that'll unmute your phone. All right, we can come back to them. Call-in user ending in 0669. If you can hit *6, that'll unmute your phone.
Hello. This is Tim Thompson.
Thank you, Tim.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got call-in user phone number ending in 1544. If you wouldn't mind hitting *6, that'll unmute your device.
Hi, this is Coretta Perkins from Vienna, Virginia.
All right, thank you, Coretta.
All right, and then I think
This is Scott
Sir-
Price. I'm the 9664. Sorry about that.
Oh, not a problem. All right, again, anyone who is calling in, *6 will unmute your phone on your end, and I will leave your numbers. I'll allow your mic. So if *5 will raise your hand, *6 will unmute and mute yourself.
All right, thank you, everybody. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Vice Chairman Walker so that I may be heard and make the requisite motion. I move that the Redistricting Advisory Committee certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this committee.
Second.
Second.
I don't know who the first voice is. I think that was Jimmy. So Sam, you have to call the motion.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I've had a problem unmuting. So you made a motion, and there was a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please. Aye.
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 Okay. Any abstentions? Okay, all against? Say nay. All right, it is moved. So moved.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures, the fact that we're meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the committee certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for the committee to physically assemble and unsafe for applicants, staff, and the public to physically attend any such meeting in person, and that as such, an in-person meeting cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that the committee conduct this meeting electronically through Microsoft Teams, and that the public may access this meeting by joining it through the provided link. It is so moved.
Second.
Second from
That's
Alice.
Alice.
All those in favor, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Finally, I move that the committee certify that all the matters addressed on today's agenda provide for the committee's continuity of operation or the discharge of its lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Second.
Second from Richard. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay. Moving into, there we go. We're right at 6:10. Perfect. If there are any members of the public that have joined tonight, welcome. Thank you for your interest and for taking your time out of your evening to be with us. If you'd like to offer some comment, please raise your hand, and I will call on you. I do see there can't be two Pat Harities in the county. There certainly is only one. Supervisor Harity, welcome. Please, let's see if I can unmute here.
Yeah, I just allowed both mic and video. So Supervisor Harity, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you very much. And there's a Sean Patrick Harity in Fairfax County. It would be my son, but I think I'm the only Pat Harity. There's a Patricia Harity that works for the county as well, but she sometimes goes by Pat Harity. But I am Supervisor Pat Harity, and I just want to start my comments off by thanking the Redistricting Advisory Committee members for all their hard work on redistricting. I thought you ran a very fair and open process, and I fully supported your recommendations, despite the fact that what the committee termed recommendations were added by somebody at the last minute to preferred. As you all know, I share your disappointment and then that the final map didn't reflect any of your work, and 80% of the final changes were not from your report. And as you know, broke up the community of West Springfield, despite your recommendation to consolidate it, is reflected in your recommended 9-district map. I did take the time to watch most of the tape from the last meeting after it was reported to me that you were considering renaming Springfield District to Clifton District. And I just wanted to be here today to clarify a few things about the Springfield District and some questions on the process that you may or may not be aware of. The Springfield District still does contain West Springfield High School, the West Springfield Police Station, Fire Station, and Government Center, as well as the West Springfield Post Office. It also still contains over 80% of the population of West Springfield High School. It also contains most of the geography of the Springfield Rotary Club and many other community groups. Significant parts of Springfield are still in the Springfield District, even though some of Springfield remains represented by other supervisors as they were before, much of Braddock Road, all of Braddock Farms, Braddock Road Park, and I could go on, things named Braddock that are not in the Braddock District. Just as much of Providence, which by the way is the name of the old Fairfax city that predated Fairfax City as a name, is not in the Providence District. So things for you to consider as you move forward with selecting names. I would expect there'd be some consistency between Braddock and Providence if you're looking at Springfield in terms of what's in and out of the district. As the district supervisor, I can assure you there is no concern among my citizens with the name Springfield. The only motivation for these changes is pretty clearly political and comes from outside the district. I think the renamings will result in citizen confusion as well as numerous legal and fiscal impacts that need to be considered by this committee. These include, but aren't limited to, many people may or may not know that Springfield District has a community-wide or district-wide commercial parking district that currently exists in ordinance for Springfield District and is named so in the ordinance. There are many proffers, including parking and plan amendments that reference the Springfield District and may be impacted by the change. And I could go on, but the gist there is I suggest that you have the county attorney walk through what some of those impacts are going to be, the legal impacts as a part of your process. I know somebody brought up costs. I think costs need to be looked at. Those that know me know that I do have concern with the taxpayer burden in Fairfax County. I'd also encourage you to invoke the old if it ain't broke, don't fix it methodology when it comes to renaming, given the consequences that come with quote unquote fixing it. If you decide to move down the path, I want to offer my services and I'd be happy to host a forum on the name change so you can hear directly from Springfield District residents, the ones that will be impacted. So our residents and not politics will prevail in the decision. Thank you again for your service to the county, and I wish you the best in a citizen-led process. And I'd be happy to answer questions if anybody's got any, or I'll end my comments there.
Thank you, sir. Well, I want to definitely get through the public comment before, if there are others from the public, I want to make sure we leave enough time, but I think we probably do have enough time for a couple of questions. Just very quickly, I hope you weren't accidentally misled. While we did approve a motion to put Springfield in the conversation, we haven't, I'm not sure where the Clifton part came from. There was no mention of that at the meeting. Just to let you know that we don't have any introductory bias of, we're already thinking about things before we've actually started the discussion. Also, we don't really have an order for how we're going to move down the list, but the things that you mentioned, I think there are a lot of valuable points that we would probably want more details on. I think tonight we're going to have a clearer idea about, excuse me, when we're going to be discussing what, when. And I think I saw Michael on the call as well. I can send him a message to let him know that, we'll be talking about Springfield at, this Tuesday or Thursday meeting, something like that. So if you or any residents have, valuable insight that they'd like to share, that's what the conversation is there for. We're starting from a blank slate. and want to make a determination one way or the other, whether we think it should be renamed. But our recommendation will certainly just be that. And I've emphasized, and I think other committee members, everyone else understands that we won't be suggesting any names. That's not part of our process. And any renaming that does happen will be in the full, we're not in charge of that process, but in the report, I will absolutely note that we encourage the residents of the districts that are changing their name to be 150% in control of their fate, their naming fate. We won't have any involvement in that. And I hope the board doesn't exert any informal or formal pressure on that as well. I think that'd be inappropriate. But I digress. Are there any questions while we have the supervisor here?
Well, if I can, real quickly on that, and I do appreciate, and I enjoyed watching the meeting last time because I think you are running a fair process, and I think you did a good job with the Redistricting Advisory Committee, as I said, which is why I said that. So I do appreciate it, and I would be happy to, if you're having that session, advertise it or host it or whatever you want. You've got my support, and I appreciate it.
Are there any committee members while we have the supervisor's time that want to throw, we could probably do 2 questions before I want to jump to other members of the public. George, I think your hand's up.
Good evening, Supervisor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, George. Good to hear you.
You're good. Happy New Year and everything. It's been a while. Question now, if you heard their meeting last time, one of my concerns was what the supervisors have already done, and if you can provide that in terms of the input from your community, in terms of emails, in terms of data that you've had that state how your residents feel, that would be greatly appreciated. And at the same time, as you know, outreach and community input also costs money. So if you can be an advocate, as you said, you liked the process last time of our 1.0, maybe to advocate for a little bit for some money so we can get a true, accurate community input in this, because without that, I feel that it's kind of hard to get a good representation out of the community of what they want, besides the historical aspect, which I think is easily found. So if you can help out on your end of data and emails, responses, and how your residents feel, or tabulated, something simple like that, and also advocating for money for outreach. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, I will support money for outreach because I think hearing from our citizens is important. And the second is, I know I have not done anything on outreach versus name because I haven't heard any complaints or questions from my citizens. I know Lee District has done a whole bunch. That's about all I know about outreach. We just haven't received anything, and I haven't let my citizens know yet, but I will, and I will be surveying them.
Thank you. Sorry, Safe. I'm still trying to get a hang of the hands up. You had a number 1 before, George. Apologies for skipping you, but please go ahead.
No issues. Supervisor Harity, thank you for the information. My question is actually in line with what George just said. And would you be willing to host like town halls in the Springfield district just to hear from residents, particularly about this district? And would you be comfortable inviting some of the committee members to listen in?
I'd invite anybody who wants to listen in or be a participant. So yes, I think I offered that up in my comments, but I would be happy to do that, and we'll do that when the time is appropriate. Just let me know when.
Well, I mean, I think that the point for us, Supervisor Harity, is that it shouldn't. I mean, the idea is that the supervisors should be doing their own kind of outreach to hear from citizens, just because our time is very limited with the mandate that we've been given, and obviously with no budget for outreach or anything like that. I think it's going to have to depend on supervisors. I think it would really help the case when we do discuss Springfield, because it was nominated, as you've heard, that if there's like a town hall that, a survey was taken during the town hall, it's a good kind of a reaction so that we understand where the citizens of the district stand.
Okay, I will take that as a suggestion and go ahead and move forward with setting up a town hall then. And I'll invite you all.
Fantastic. Thank you. I see last question for the supervisor. It's a phone number ending in 86. As long as you're a committee member, you're welcome to speak. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to lower your hand. If you are a committee member, please unmute by pressing *6. I saw that you unmuted for a second.
Hello.
I believe that. Oh.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead,
For some
sir.
reason you're not hearing me. Do you hear me?
Yes, Jerry. Now
We can hear you, Jerry.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I just have a comment for Mr. Harity. I strongly oppose the renaming of the Springfield district. I think it should remain the same. Further deponent saith not.
Well, thank you for that, Jerry. I appreciate it, and I am with you on Mount Vernon as well.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jerry. Sir, thank you so much.
All right, I appreciate it. If you need to hear from me again, be happy to show up anytime, and just let Michael know, and we'll get to work on a town hall.
Terrific. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that have joined tonight that would like to offer your thoughts?
For the few folks who are in as an attendee, if as part of the public, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand, and then we will allow you to unmute yourself. So again, if you do have public comment, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in, that would be *5 to raise your hand.
All right, I think we can close the public comment period. Thank you to everyone who has joined. I do see several names on the list that aren't committee members. We appreciate your presence and thank you for joining us. Moving into the next, I don't think we approved, I'm sorry, did we approve the agenda? I don't think we approved the agenda. Okay, apologies for that. I jumped the gun. Meeting 15.
Move approval of the agenda.
Pardon me, Jerry?
Move the approval of the agenda as proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Richard. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So the meeting, I should say 14. The minutes, apologies, our meetings are kind of stacked, so we're not giving Denver a lot of time to turn those meeting minutes around. I'm going to move to, in a moment, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes. And then I know there's some edits. If we feel comfortable editing them now and just approving them, we can. If everyone wants to wait until Tuesday, we can wait to approve those minutes then. So I make a motion to, or I guess we have to do the edits first. So are there any edits that anyone wants to introduce right now?
Paul, this is Richard.
Go ahead, Richard.
On page 4 of the minutes, there's a reference to Holland Hall as the precinct name. Correct name is Holland, Hollin, Hill Precinct.
Right. I did catch a few other name.
Wait, Paul, I think that he said Holland Hill, not Hall. Did I mishear that?
No, you didn't. Any other edits to the minutes? Jerry, you can speak if your mic is unmuted if you want to go ahead.
I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Phone number ending in 69. I think that's Coretta or Tim. Hit *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
Okay, it's Tim, and I just wanted to make sure the attendance got reckoned up.
You are marked as present.
That's all right. Look, I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hearing no other edits.
Hello?
Janae?
Just a little thing. You misspelled my name in the letter of as we were doing the evaluations.
Can you, which page?
It's the last page. Representative Chu moved that the committee evaluate the name of the Holland Hall precinct based on criteria number 4. The motion was seconded by Representative Lindner, and it's misspelled.
I think, can you see it? I think I corrected that already.
It's Lindner. Okay.
Yeah, in the original it was missing an N, but I put that in there when I was editing earlier.
Thanks. No biggie.
All right. I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second, Jerry.
Second from Jerry. All those in discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right, now we are finally into, we're picking up where we tabled the discussion on Tuesday. I think that we are, for the moment at least, finished with the district selections. So we're moving into precincts. So far, we have made motions. We passed motions for Mosby, and that needs to be corrected too. On Hill.
No, actually, the correction is, it should be Holland Hall. It's precinct 606 in the Mount Vernon district.
Oh, okay, then I misheard. So are there before, so I'm going to turn the mic over to Jerry, and I think if Lisa's joined, because they were the one, we left off with them in the conversation. I think we're going to examine the Confederate names inventory. I'll pull up that document, and I can just pull up the precinct list if that would be helpful. But before I do that, are there any candidates that a committee member wants to bring up that they've researched over the past couple of days?
Well, this is Richard. I have several. Whatever you decide is the best order of business is fine with me.
Let me pull up the list of precincts first, so we can have a reference of where they are and just get our bearings on that. Okay, if you cannot see the PDF document, Commonwealth of Virginia, County of Fairfax 2021, please let me know. So we have the list present. Richard, let's just go down your list and I'll find them here so we can identify them.
Sure. In the Braddock district, Ravensworth.
Ravensworth, number 115.
Number 3 and number 4.
Pull up the criteria list again so we have that.
Paul, it was criteria, it was question number 3 and question number 4 for Ravensworth.
Yeah, I want to pull up the, can everyone see the criteria so that we know what those are? So it's Confederate past and number 4, the longer one. Okay, so Richard, if you want to make a motion, then we can discuss.
Yeah, I move that we consider the Ravensworth precinct in the Braddock district for renaming.
Second.
Second by Prashant. Okay, discussion. Richard, why don't you go ahead?
Just a clarification. Are we going through the consideration now or just the criteria?
I mean, I'm trying to go by the parliament, I guess the Roberts rules. I mean, the discussion has to happen after the motion. If you just want to give your explanation about why, I think the justification will go through pretty smoothly, and then we can just make a motion and approve one by one.
Yeah, Ravensworth is a precinct that was probably named after the Ravensworth plantation, which was an original tobacco plantation. It ultimately fell into the Lee family for ownership and cultivation, and the plantation employed slaves.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
Abstention from Janae, I think.
Hmm.
Denver is second to the motion passed. So sorry to switch this up. I don't mean to be confusing. Richard, if you just want to go down your list and give a justification each time, and then make the first motion, and someone will probably second.
Sure. The Stewart precinct in Hunter Mill, number 3, was named after Jeb Stewart. Enough said.
I would second.
I second that motion.
I didn't hear the first second, so I'm just going to go with Bill on that. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Sorry. Discussion.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Janae.
The Stewart family, you're saying it's Jeff Stewart?
I'm saying it's, yes, James Ewell Brown.
Okay. He was a founding father. Are we saying that if anybody had a slave on any property, they cannot be, we cannot even tolerate that? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I think, remember, this is just, we want to talk about this. That the question you're asking is, I think, the exact question that we're gonna have to answer, but okay. that's in the actual evaluation part. Right now, we're affirmatively saying we should evaluate it by passing the motion.
I didn't understand that. I thought we were actually voting on it right now. And I just have more of a discussion about that first. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As clarification, he was not a founding father, he was a Confederate.
Jeb, Janae, I think you said Jeff. It's Jeb.
Oh, you were saying it was Jeb Stewart. Oh, okay. I was thinking the other Stewart, Dr. Stewart, who founded Fairfax City. One of the founders. Okay.
Good clarification.
Yep.
So closing discussion. I'm going to do the ayes again. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Richard, back to you.
Yes, in the Lee district, the Van Dorn precinct, number 3, probably named after Earl Van Dorn, who was a Confederate officer.
I'll second that. Discussion? Closing discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Excuse me
Go
for
ahead,
interrupting, Paul, but Janine still has her hand up. I don't know if she wants to speak or not.
No, I don't think so. Thank you, Sam. Okay, Richard, back to you.
In the Mount Vernon district, Gunston, number 3 and number 4. And I will be looking forward to the discussion on how we treat Mr. George Mason.
Richard, can you elaborate on Gunston a little bit? Was he?
Gunston Hall was is the main residence and headquarters of the Mason plantation.
Okay. That certainly meets the 3 criteria and 4. Okay. We need a second on that motion.
Second.
Second from Bill. Discussion?
Final day of charter, beautiful weather, heading back, and it's pretty fun.
So I think I see, well, Jerry, your hand has been up the whole time, so I'm just going to assume that it wasn't put down. I think number ending in 69, that's either Tim or Coretta. Your mic is on if you have something to say.
I'm fine.
Tim, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
There's somebody talking in the background, and on those of us on phones are getting blown out. We can't hear your discussions. If they could please mute their things until they need to speak, that would be great.
I can do that. All right, I've muted that mic, and I'm going to mute the other one. Okay. Right, discussion closed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Richard, back to you.
Yes, in the Providence district, the Graham Greenway. Graham was owned 3 plantations and employed slave labor. So it's a number 4. I have no information on Greenway.
I would second.
Who was that? Who was
Denver.
this? Denver. Thank you, Denver. Yeah. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Any more, Richard?
Yes, also in the Providence district, Oakmar. While the Oak is Oakton, the Mar is John Quincy Marr, who was in the Confederacy.
So that's criteria number 3.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second, it's Alice.
Thank you, Alice. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Richard?
Continuing on, was in Providence, now is in Springfield, the Penderbrook precinct for number 3.
Can you,
Yeah,
Can you-
Confederacy.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Richard?
Yes, last for me, in the Sully District, Lee's Corner, which was named after the family of William Fairfax Lee, who were the original owners of the Sully Plantation. So that would be number 4. I'm sorry, number 3. Number 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alice. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, Richard. You're now, I'm appointing you the committee historian. Any other committee members have precincts to bring up? Candy, go ahead.
Hi, I don't have a precinct to bring up, but I just need a little bit of historical education. Either I'm confused or I'm wrong, and the latter is probably true. In the discussion about Mason District and Gunston Precinct, and this is probably a small point, but I think the number 3 is the name related to the Confederate past was used. And I thought that it had more to do with number 4 because of the slave ownership of the Mason family. So again, I'm looking for historical correction or education here, if that's not true.
I think number 4 is correct.
And I think that it in the minutes for when we did the motion on Mason District, it's
that was me, Candace. Just to say, I was I thought Mason District was because of Mason's Hill, which is where the district headquarters is right now in Annandale. And Mason's Hill is actually named after I think it's the grandson of George Mason, who was a Confederate Navy, commissioned in the Confederate Navy, I guess. So that's why I had made the motion on that. I have no problem amending that and adding number 4 or removing number 3 and changing it to number 4.
Oh, it doesn't matter. That's history I was not aware of. So that's fine.
If I could also add something, this is Janae. I did actually call the Mason District and asked them and said, so who are you named after exactly? And he says it's George Mason. He said that's who we're named after. We're named after George Mason, the same George Mason that
Gunston Hall, the plantation.
Yeah, that at least, as far as he knew, he said that's always what we've been told. So.
This is Alice. Yeah, that's correct. It's also in one of the documents that was sent around. It confirmed that it is named after George Mason.
In the memo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
This is great. So I don't think you don't need to amend your motion. I mean, all of what we're doing right now is essentially what the next step is, which is evaluation. This might mean
that's fine. It had happened. That explanation happened a couple of times. That's why I just was unclear. So
sure. No, that's great. And you said there was a second that you had a question about?
No, but I also want to correct something that I said incorrectly on Tuesday. I referred to almost 1,000 precincts, and I went back and I counted them because I felt there was something wrong about that. There are 248, so Anyway, I'm the daughter of a teacher, so I'm always double checking myself.
I'm the son of a teacher, so I appreciate that. George, you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead. All right, George, you disappeared from my list, so I'm going to move on.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
Had little problems here. Just a suggestion to my Braddock friend. If you do a town hall, please do it in Ravensworth. That's where the supervisor lives. And I think it'd be a great avenue to get a good turnout at the town hall for Braddock if one is set up there. Thank you.
Great suggestion, George. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Okay. Back to our list. Are there any other precincts and we can open it up to districts too, that we want to add to the list? Okay, so we're going to pause ad hoc suggestions for the moment. And I want to give Jerry the opportunity to pick up where we tabled the discussion that he was leading. So Jerry, on Tuesday, you said that you felt that we might need to go down the list one by one or look at the Confederate names inventory. How do you suggest we proceed with that? Which one do you want to start with? You're going to have to hit *6, Jerry. I'm going to pause that for a second. All right, so currently we're a little ahead of schedule if we stopped here. Are there any other general comments, observations, ideas for proceeding on the candidates question before we continue on? Very well. We can revisit this at any point in the future if someone finds a compelling reason to add a new candidate. So please know that this is not the definitive end of looking at different precincts and districts. Next, I'd like to discuss the final report that we're going to submit. As opposed to the first track, we actually have a lot of discretion here as to how we want to present it. Two things that I want us to accomplish tonight are a timeline and a format. For the timeline piece, please remember that everyone needs to get a chance to look at it before we vote on it. And ideally, given our schedules and everyone's a volunteer, that should be, I think, in my mind, no fewer than 5 days. So maybe we get it on I'll circulate a draft on a Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The following on March 1st is our last meeting. So in my mind, I'm planning on a Tuesday meeting for the approval. That doesn't mean we'll be working all the way to the 1st, but so that's the first piece. Second piece is who's going to be doing the writing, which I'll get to that in a second. So I'll start with this bullet point list. I think we need to assign work groups for each candidate. It makes sense to me that the representatives from the districts that are on the candidate list should be on those work groups. The precincts that are in a district should be matched with that district. I think that's pretty cut and dry. I don't think anyone's going to object to that. For those of us, for example, Richard, I think you mentioned one in Hunter Mill.
Yes.
So, let's call them stray precincts, will just be assigned to one of the work groups to balance out the work. And then those of us that whose district names are not here will join with one of the work groups so that we balance the work as best as possible. As long as that's acceptable, I'll just move through this list. We will have to prioritize them for discussion. I think, just based on discussion, I'm not trying to bias the proceedings here, but Lee seems to be the most obvious. I think we're going to speed through that one. And I suggest we do the easy ones first, because we'll need more discussion time for, Mason, for example, came up tonight. Like, we don't know if it's Mason's Hill or George Mason or a grandson of George Mason or whoever. So we'll need to dig in on that more, and we'll need more time. So we'll let's talk prioritization in a second, as soon as I'm done with this. The report design here, and please jump in if you think there needs to be something added or tweaked. There's going to be a short chairman's letter, same format as last time. I'll be responsible for drafting it, but I'm gonna share it, and I want everyone to weigh in. Then we'll go straight into recommendations for each candidate base, and then this is just a non-exhaustive list of the type of evidence we want to show for our recommendations. So we'll start with the districts. We'll probably group them by district. So lead district, and then the lead precincts, Sully, and the Sully precincts, etc. And start with our recommendation, say we recommend that it's changed or not, and then here's why. And then a simple bibliography for our sources and an appendix if necessary. So opening discussion on the report design. What does everyone think? What should we add? What should we take away? I saw Alice first, and then we'll go to Janae after.
Hey, Paul, just wondering regarding the work groups, are those going to be meeting during our scheduled meetings, or is that going to be additional meetings scheduled for those?
Good question. Per FOIA and just for realistic time, availability for everyone, I think we're going to try to do breakout groups during the Teams meetings.
Okay, great.
So that they're accessible to the public, but also, everyone in theory should be more or less available. But some of the work is just going to have to happen in the offline over email and maybe over phone calls. Just please remember that no more than 2 people in a conversation.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Janae?
First of all, I want to apologize to all of you a little bit that I've seemed a little bit contrary. My experience for the other committee that I was on is very different from this one. And I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate the way that it is flowing in this group. Secondly, one thing that and I actually went to Jeff McKay's office and asked, was if there was some people who had a dissenting opinion that could be put in the appendix. And so I just wanted to ask to include that. I have no idea if I will or someone else will, but it was a piece that we were able to get approval straight through Supervisor McKay's office.
Yeah, Janae, that's a great question. I mean, I'm treating this like an academic exercise. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of warts in here that we need to put a microscope on. Warts, details, observations, anything, this is an inclusive process for everyone. All of that needs to go in the report, within realistic expectations. We can't write a 50-page report. If this thing turns out to be 10 pages, I think I'll be happy with that.
So you can put cons in the report? That's great.
Well, it's a matter of where, and that's what we're discussing right now.
I see. Okay. Yeah. No, I understand. Sure.
We can, while we're drafting this thing, each group section should be, they need to be adding in language and justification and evidence. It's an evidence-based process, so let's look at it and add in, when appropriate.
That sounds fair. Sounds fair. Great. Thank you.
See, George is next on the list.
Clarifying question. So in the breakout rooms, the public can choose to which ones they go to, right? Or can they hop around also? I know that's harder in Zoom or in the virtual world, but that is your intention, right? That if wherever they want to go, they'll go, and so they can attend those breakout, right?
Yeah, it's no different than when we were all meeting in the computer room, in that training room. I mean, you can only listen to one, everyone only has two pairs of ears, or one set of ears. They can only listen to one conversation, so one breakout room at a time is, I think, is a reasonable accommodation over virtual.
And then to the minority report, I guess I call it. I know I've seen different organizations do it. I think we should have some structure around it. Because at the same time, if it's, and I'm not saying this is going to occur, if it's just one person, then it kind of, I think we should think about it a little bit more, but I hear what your intention is to have one. And as long as, there is a good, I don't know, what do we call a good amount of people, and that's it.
Yeah, let me clarify. So there isn't going to be a dissension report. There's no second report. We've got to have one report. We're going to send one thing, one message, one voice.
Okay, because I misunderstood that, because I thought your last comment, and I apologize, that you are allowing I don't call it consent, I call it minority report. So it might be a differences here, but that's what I thought you said. But right now you're saying there is only one report and there's no other type of reports that you can do if the body votes on it.
Correct. There's going to be one report, and when someone has an alternative viewpoint, or whatever you want to call it, something that they feel is important to get in there, I think it's a fair, it is absolutely fair to have that be in there. That person will, need to present something that's, it can't be an off-the-wall suggestion of, it has to be evidence-based. We have to be able to point to something and say, this is why this is going in there. It has to be a germane, salient, feature of the report. And if it conflict, I don't want to say conflict, because if it's evidence-based and it's just, it's an evidence-based finding, and that will go in the report. There's no problem with we're all coming from different corners of the county. The idea is for us to mix and be a gestalt, a sum that's greater than all the parts combined.
So if the body agrees to that, it's in the report, but if the body doesn't, it's not in the report. Correct. I hear you.
Yeah, we have to come to an agreement. I think everyone here is fair-minded, and we'll give a fair assessment to anything that anybody wants to add in. Okay, I don't see any other hands on the list. We can tweak this as we proceed. We don't need to, if we find a compelling reason to change this, happy to do that at a future point. Let's talk work groups. So just going to use the list of reps here. We don't need to pass any motions. We can just assign ourselves to work groups, unless somebody has a suggestion or an objection. If you're a representative from a district, you're assigned to the group that includes that district. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe do we want 4 or 5 work groups? Because we're 20 total. 20 divided by 4 means 5 people in a work group. I think that works for everybody. Okay. So Brian is going to be assigned to Lee. Jerry, you'll be leading the Mount Vernon. Janae, you'll be in Springfield, obviously. Sam, you'll be on Sully. And then Alice, you'll be in Mason. So that leaves, I'm just going to do the reps first. So Jimmy, Richard, Denver,
Mr. Chair, I think you might have to combine 2 of the district work groups just to consolidate the work if you want to have 4 groups. Correct? To have an odd vote. Mm-hmm.
Yep. You're right. Okay, so open discussion.
And Paul, it's also Braddock. Braddock's included there with Ravensworth.
So we didn't pass a motion for Braddock to be evaluated as a district.
I'm sorry. Oh, I thought we were at precincts. I'm sorry. Never mind.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I know this is a little confusing, but I'm going to get to precincts next. Okay, so what two precincts make the most sense to combine? I think it should be Lee and something else because Lee's going to be low-hanging fruit. Sorry, Jimmy, your hand's up.
Why do we want only 4 groups and not 5?
Just 5 people in a group, I think, makes the work, more hands, less work.
Okay. That's fine. I was just asking because we had 5 districts that were under consideration, but that's fine. It seems to me, yeah, it's fine.
Also, it could be Lee and Springfield.
I was actually
Because
thinking
Lee is getting some of Springfield. I don't know.
I was thinking Lee and Sully because I think they both have criteria 3 and 4.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, there's overlap there.
Yeah, that'd be good.
George?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I recommend that the districts that be combined be Mason and Mount Vernon, because the central question is whether or not we will be recommending that essentially, yes, Lee and Sully are Confederate related, Mason and Mount Vernon are founding father related. So I think that they're on the same track, so to speak, in how we decide to recommend name changes.
I second what Jimmy just said.
Okay, sorry. I think there's a second from Saif.
Yep, that was safe.
Saif. Okay, any discussion on that? I think that's a great motion.
So can I still get Springfield and Sully because I'd like to be a part of that one?
Yeah, can I do Springfield also?
Let's not do assignments yet. Let's just focus on Mount Vernon and Mason. That's the motion on the floor. So, I mean, I think that justification is great because that's a harder question, and you can hit 2 birds with one conversation, one group there. Any other discussion?
Paul, this is Richard. With
Yes,
respect to the precincts, and I know that you're not focusing on that at the moment, but to the extent that you have a precinct name that is tied to a name of somebody that's under consideration from a district perspective, it probably makes sense to have that broaden the discussion to say, okay, is George Mason or anybody associated with George Mason a target, or if not, why not? That kind of thing, rather than have to repeat the discussion 3 or 4 times.
We can assign precincts wherever we want. We're not, we're making up the rules here as we go along. So I think that's great. I think, Jimmy's suggestion, and Richard, I think you're saying the same thing, is let's keep the same conversations together instead of duplicating them.
Yeah. So if you've got Mason, you've got Lee's, you throw them into the discussion of the Mason district and the Lee district.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, I think you said Mount Vernon and Mason, or is it Lee and Mason?
I said Mount Vernon and Mason. That you take the founding fathers issue and put them into one place.
Okay, so we're still discussing that motion. Anyone else has something to say?
Paul, Jimmy's hand is still up.
Sorry, my hand's down now.
Thanks, Sam. All right, closing discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so B and, oh, sorry, Mount Vernon and Mason. So we have Lee, Sully, and Springfield. Janae, you were suggesting that 2 of those be combined, I think, or do you want to make a motion for that, to that effect?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that Springfield and Sully are put together.
Do I hear a second?
The main reason is because I just personally want to have a really in-depth conversation about Sully, for me personally. So,
Jenny, there's nothing prohibiting you from being in 2 groups.
oh, I thought once you were in one group, that was it.
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, so.
No. I mean, we're literally making up the rules here as we go along for this. So, if you want to join 2 groups, if you want to join all, I think we're going to end up having 4. Then go for it.
But don't forget, virtually, you can't be in 2 breakout rooms at the same time. So pick your lead and go with it. But then you have to be asked to move to another one.
True.
Okay, well, that's the reason why I want Sully and Springfield. So that's what I'll ask.
Still haven't heard a second on that motion.
I haven't either.
This is Richard. I'll second that motion.
Okay, great. Any other discussion?
This is Jimmy. I'd rather Janae go to both groups than have those 2 together. It would make more sense to me to have Sully and Lee together than Springfield and Sully. Seems like the issue with Springfield is quite different than the issue with Sully.
Yeah.
Or potential issue. I'd like to say potential issue. I've got, we haven't said whether or not we're going to recommend a name change or not.
Alleged issue, allegedly. I agree with that 100%. Any other discussion? George?
Here's just a food for thought. I know it's more work, but just trying to be helping out people who want to do more than one, because I do believe in being as involved as possible. If your groups decide to have minutes or notes, that could also help out people who want to back. But that's to each own group. I'm just throwing that idea. I'm not saying it's not more work, just throwing that idea out. So then other people can see those minutes and see what they've missed or not missed.
Thanks, George. All right. All those in favor of combining Springfield and Sully, please say aye. Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
Nay.
Abstentions? The motion fails. Make a motion that Lee and Sully should be combined as a work group.
Second.
Bill, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So we have 3 work groups. If you are from those districts, you'll be assigned to that work group. So I'm going to go, this is preference based, but we want to be, balanced as, to the extent possible. I'll go last so that everyone can get their preference first. I don't think Lisa's here yet, so I'll ask her later. I'm just going to go down the list here. Jimmy, do you have one or multiple groups you'd like to join?
I would like to join the Lee and Sully group, please.
You, Richard?
Lee and Sully.
Brian is Denver.
Mr. Chairman, just looking and not to call anyone out, just looking already that Byron, Jimmy, Richard, Sam are on that one committee. We want to make sure that there's diversity on these breakout workup groups. So we want to make sure it's not, we have different folks with different backgrounds and perspectives, gender and race on these varying work groups as we shake it out. So please take it into consideration when you're selecting.
I'd like to make a motion that the chair choose which work groups he wants to put us in, and because if we do it this way, then the people whose last names are, then Tim is whose last name comes up last, might get put into a group he didn't want anyway. So I think that you should just tell us where to go, Paul. And if you want to do it at a later date, I'm fine. Like as in an email or something like that. I'm fine with that. I'll do what you want me to do.
I'll second that.
Gives you the
I'll second that motion. I mean, typically in most organizations, it's the chairman's prerogative to assign committee groups anyway.
Happy to do it. Trying to keep everyone happy. That's what I just want to do at the end of the day. So yeah, that's fine.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
Can you put me for all three?
Sure. Yeah. I can send we're in discussion now. I will send out an email so I don't want to do it now. And if anyone really doesn't like their group, just tell me and we can move you. And George, that's fine. That's a lot, but if you want to be in all three, that's
it's a lot on Nate. He has to move me, right? I don't have the power here.
Well, it's there should be a little bit of work going on behind the scenes, between meetings as well over email and historical research and you're gonna have to do a lot of Googling for 3 different groups.
I agree.
Okay, so we're in discussion, closing discussion. All those in favor of the motion that I just appoint everybody via email, tomorrow, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. And if you do have a preference, feel free to shoot me a note and I'll, try to put you in the group that you want.
Hey, Paul, this is Richard.
Yes, sir.
From a logistical perspective, we have 3 primary group discussions. And I don't know what the consensus is with respect to how much discussion is required. But given what I'm sensing from a lot of the members, that they have a vested interest in some groups and they may not be selected to participate in that group. Wouldn't it make sense just to carve out time over the next 2 or 3 meetings to have a general discussion on each of those groups?
So
the body as a whole?
Yeah, so that's this, to clarify, these are the groups that will be responsible for gathering evidence, gathering that, the things that need to go in the report. And it could be if we end up writing a report that's just all bullet points and not, an academic treatise on the names of districts, I think that's the way we want to go, something shorter. These groups are responsible for that district and the precincts within them. But here, up at the top, that's our next. You're actually right on track, Richard. I want to order by party for discussion, where the body as a whole is going to we're going to discuss those together, but those work groups have to do a little bit of work, a little bit of the extra digging. Does that make sense?
Well, but Paul, the members of the, I understand what you're saying, and certainly the designated members can take the lead in their research. But they should bring that research to a meeting where of the whole, where everything is out in the open. We discuss it. We agree. That gives us an opportunity to say you're crazy or you're not crazy. We agree with you.
Yeah.
And then we finish up that group and we move on to the next group.
So setting the tempo or the schedule here, I think on Tuesday, we should start with Lee District. That's my personal opinion. And we can, we'll agree on that collectively, which means the Lee and Sully group is going to have to come on Tuesday with some, some preliminary evidence. And then we're going to spend, the whole meeting, all the meetings from now on are going to be focused on the discussion of the districts.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we need to decide, we need to order by priority what we want to do in what order, and then we'll just put those in different meetings. And that way the work groups will know, what they have to expect in terms of, doing the homework.
And I think if you do it that way, you will eliminate the logistical challenge of breakout groups.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
I oppose doing it that way. I think the whole point of creating some groups is to have a smaller group look at the issue first and make some recommendations or figure out how they would like to present the evidence to the broader group. The broader group can always, and in every instance, will make the final determination, and the broader group can just because you weren't at the Lee and Sully meeting doesn't mean that you can't, when Lee and Sully present, say, I don't really agree with anything that was just said. But I think that this whole notion of trying to involve everyone in every group, then why have groups, period? And you had said breakout rooms. Well, yes, because the 5 people the 7 people that you've assigned to a group on Tuesday, they all need to actually talk to each other and coordinate what they're going to do, which we can't do outside of meetings because you have to do one-on-one coordination, not 7 people. So I think it would make far more sense to have the meeting next week, have breakout groups where people can decide, for instance, how they're going to collect the evidence for their group. And then after that, we could say this night is the Lee night, and the 7 people on that group could present that evidence, and then people could say whether or not they think the evidence is correct or is bunk. But I don't see the point of, I think that there is a usefulness to creating smaller groups here that ultimately present to the broader group.
Richard, does that line up with what you're saying? Because I think you're both saying the same thing. Like I'm hearing.
I think we are, and I like Jimmy's expansion on my notion.
So Tuesday and then or potentially Thursday next week we'll one or both nights we'll do breakout groups, and then that work is brought to the wider group for discussion and a vote. George, your hand was up, but it's down now. Candy?
This is a question about the precincts. We've got 3 groups for the district level conversation and research, but should we have a separate group that just focuses on the list of precincts?
I think we should. I mean, that we could do it that way. I think we should just put the precincts, assign them to the district that they belong to.
Well, there are some precincts here that like Hunter Mill and has Stewart. That's not, not one of the candidate. It's not one of the candidates.
We'll just, so if there's an imbalance, those will go towards the group with fewer precincts.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's my idea, is to just split those up, as evenly as possible. Jimmy, did you want to add in?
I would say that's probably not the way that I would recommend we do it. Shouldn't we keep them thematically? The precinct names are either Confederate names or or related to slaveholder founding fathers. Right. Why wouldn't we put the precincts related to Confederate names into the Lee and Sully group, and the precincts related to slaveholding founding fathers into the Mount Vernon and Mason group?
Yeah.
This is Richard, and I agree with that.
Okay.
Can we, just for the sake of doing that right now, then can we assign? So Mosby, I think, was a Confederate.
That's correct.
And Holland Hall. Is that a Confederate or a founding father?
That's a plantation.
It's a plantation.
I think that goes with Lee and Sully. Richard, can we just run down your list?
Yeah. Ravensworth was a 3 and a 4. Stewart was a 3. Van Dorn was a 3.
Richard, hold on. So so Ravensworth should go with Lee and Sully.
That's a plantation.
Okay. So next, what's next?
Stewart.
It's
Confederate.
Okay. Third.
Van Dorn, Confederate.
Fourth.
Gunston, plantation.
Gunston should go with Mount Vernon and Mason. It's the plantation of the founding father.
Yeah,
I would agree. I would agree with that as well.
It's in Mason, right? Yeah.
It's actually Gunston. The Gunston precinct is in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the principle, the theme.
What's after Gunston?
Graham Greenway. That's a number 4. Confederate.
Next.
Mosby is Confederacy.
Got that one.
Oakmars is Confederacy.
Okay.
Penderbrook, Confederacy.
Okay.
And Lee's Corner should go under the Lee.
I think that was it.
That was it.
Okay. So should the Lee and Sully work group be a little bit bigger to accommodate the extra work? Jimmy, go ahead.
I don't necessarily think so. I think the thematic question is fine.
Okay. And I could go either way. So just want to make sure when I assign folks that there's good balance. Denver?
I mean, I would just naturally ask for the discretion of the chair to make sure there's equal balance throughout the groups. that have already been agreed on. And recognizing, granted, that it'll probably be repetitive, but we want everyone to be having the same conversations. And it will come back to the group as a whole in its entirety. So I would once again leave it to you, Paul.
Okay, and we can, I mean, these aren't set in stone. If, you know, if people want to move or we think groups should change a little bit, we can go ahead and do that. I think we can end here with the work groups, unless anyone else has something to add. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. I think we're plodding along here, but I think this is really great. So let's talk. I guess the next few meetings are ordering by priority. I think Tuesday definitely we'll get to the public comment and then jump straight into work groups, so everyone can start discussing. We'll decide at the end of the Tuesday meeting if we need to do the same thing on Thursday, or if one of the groups is ready to present, then we can, or we might be able to do a mix of both. Whenever we do get to the districts, let's just start there, whether it's next week or the week after. What is the order that we want to prioritize them for discussion? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Can I suggest a slightly different plan for meetings?
Sure.
We at this point we are down to three subgroups. We have, by my count, 6 weeks left. 6 weeks left, 7 weeks left, something like that. I would suggest that next week we have a meeting for the subgroup to get together and figure out how they're going to prepare to present the issues of the subgroup to the full committee. I suggest that we only have one meeting next week, then we do a meeting the following week where the subgroup gets together and make sure that they're all happy with what has been prepared. Then we do the following week a meeting on the first subgroup, then the next week a meeting on the second subgroup, and then the next week a meeting on the third subgroup, and then our last week we talk about what the final report looks like. Now I know that there may be that we always there may be that's not a ton of time, but I think that any one of these subgroups we should, if we are prepared in advance to at least present the issues comprehensively, then it should be something that we as a committee can come to a binary determination on within a single meeting. Because the binary determination is we recommend a change. We aren't actually asking, what we change to. And that's my 2 cents on sort of what the schedule might look like. And I frankly think that something that kind of limits us might lead to actually faster consensus in a good way. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to disagree just because we all had that crunch at the end of version 1.0. I mean, I think the holding our feet to the fire does force us to, to get down to votes. I prefer to, I'm going to make a determination here. Let's get to Tuesday. See, folks feel like we've made good progress in the subgroups and that they want to keep working, then we'll cancel the Thursday meeting and circle back on that Tuesday. But time is always our most precious resource that we never seem to have enough of. But I do agree. We kind of have a grueling schedule right now of 2 meetings per week, and I'd rather get to a conclusion on this. If anything, I'd rather have more meetings sooner and then finish the report earlier than the first, and just wrap everything up and call it a day, with weeks to spare, than go all the way to the first. But like I said, let's wait till Tuesday. Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, in order for us to have a meaningful meeting next Tuesday is this the first group Mount Vernon, or is this first group the least healthy?
So next week, we're going to do breakout rooms, and each of the subgroups, each of the work groups are going to go into their own breakout room, just those members. And that's it. We're just, you're going to discuss your districts and if there are precincts, those precincts, and then we'll probably all leave the breakout rooms at like 7:50, so everyone can offer some comments and observations about how that went, and if we want to hold a Thursday meeting, or if we want to skip it so that everyone can keep working.
Okay, then I suggest that we all, do some homework starting tonight, tomorrow, or between now and Tuesday, so that we do go into our breakout rooms. We can have some meaningful information to exchange. Just my suggestion.
Yeah, great idea. Okay. Any other comments on this? I think it kind of sounds like we want to save the ordering priority for later. Just fine. Yeah, Candy, go ahead.
This is actually not directly related, but it's about research. Janae, you had mentioned a couple of people from the History Commission. Would there be any resources of the commission that would be helpful to us in what we're doing, either written or even as a guest to talk to even a breakout group or? Oh, you're muted.
Cheryl, who is head of the History Commission, she actually emailed me tonight, and she would be happy to do a presentation if you wanted something like that. And because she was really part of the process when they did the Confederate name task force inventory. And she would just have a lot at her fingertips. So I don't know if that may be something that may be worthwhile to schedule for her to do next week. Or the other thing is, each district has 2 commissioners. So you could talk to the Sully District Commissioner, then you could talk to the Mason District Commissioner. You know what I mean? And put them on your committee even, and use them because they're supposed to know the history of their particular district very well.
That might be a more focused way of doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Go ahead, George.
No, I like that idea that they can come in to break out to their particular whatever rooms and stuff.
Yeah, members of the public are welcome to join the breakout groups, of course.
So do you want me to invite them next week?
That'd be terrific. Yeah.
Okay, what time would you want them to come on?
We usually get through all of the preliminary stuff by 6:30.
Okay.
So that'll be just before public comment's supposed to end.
Good. And then hopefully, because there's 2 history commissioners, if one can't come, then the other can. So, okay.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Great suggestion.
I will do that.
Okay. I think we're wrapped up with this item. Before we adjourn, I just wanted to update on the budget item, the budget question. So got some feedback from, based on our questions. The earliest that a physical piece of mail could be designed, printed, and sent would be 3 weeks. So we're talking about, let's say tomorrow at 9 a.m., it would be, roughly 3.5 weeks before at the absolute earliest, like no snow delays, no printing problems, no. I mean, there's only one vendor that bids for the, because this has to be bidded. Like the absolute earliest is we're talking like 3.5 to 4 weeks before residents see any mail. In my mind, I think that obviates the concept of trying to put something together in a timely manner that would allow members of the public to engage with us. There is the whole electronic, platform, and the county does have, and I'm going to get to that in a second. So I'll talk about that in a second. So the mail piece, I think for our work here, there's not going to be much of an opportunity for the mail to have an outreach impact that gets people involved. However, what I'm going to suggest, and we need to make this a request so that we can ask for an allotment from the budget, from a budget, wherever that comes from, is that, okay, is that no matter what happens, so after our report is submitted to the board, I think it's safe to assume that the board will take up the issue at their meeting, so their March meeting, and that there will be a month-long period between that meeting and the next one when they actually take a vote. Same way that they did with the redistricting, mapping process. So there would be an opportunity of a month for outreach, for the district supervisors to send out newsletters, electronic, mail, etc. And I recommend that since we can't have an immediate impact, that we coordinate with the chair's office on the messaging, because any mail that we ask for that goes out has to be designed, and then ideally we would see it before we would see the draft beforehand. But since it can't impact and get everyone to these meetings, I suggest that we coordinate a message, the content of that mail with the chair's office to inform them that yes, there's still time. We're still working until March 1st at the latest. And if you are invested in the renaming process, here's how you can contact your supervisor. Here's when the public meetings are where you can offer written or comment in person, et cetera, et cetera. I realize that this is not ideal, and again, it's not really meeting our expectations for the perfect outreach strategy, but we have until March 1st to do all of our work. That's the reality. So with all that said, I see several hands up. I'm just going to go down the list. Janae, please go ahead. Oh, okay. Katrina. Okay. George, go ahead.
Can we still do it and then just tell them to respond to the supervisor's office?
I mean, we can kind of put whatever we want on the mailer.
Right, on the mailer. So we do it now. We're not going to get the feedback, but it gives them. We're just an early start to this whole input process. We started it, but the supervisors get it, right? It's a direct hit, and we don't have to worry about the collection and all that stuff. I think we could still start it. It still gets us that we as citizens were involved, unfortunately because of the time, but we started the process of getting input.
Yeah, I mean that would probably, the longer we wait on that decision, the more that exact emphasis becomes the only realistic action for a member of the public. I still think we should add, you can still join a meeting of the RAC up until March 1st, and they are, participate until March 1st. They're voting on the report, so you can have your input heard, like something like that. That's 1 or 2 lines on whatever piece of mail goes out. All good?
Yeah, I'm all for just getting in early and whatever you think is best for input, and I'm fine with it.
Okay. I have a follow-up comment, but I'll go to Lisa first. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa, gotta unmute.
Sorry, Thanks. Sorry, I'm missed part of the meeting. I was at an ERA meeting, national meeting tonight, but I'm not sure what I missed, so please forgive me if I've covered something you've already covered. I heard you mention the chairman's letter. If we were to draft something, and I'm with George on this, the sooner we get something out, the better. And if we tell him that we told him and tell him again, and we get it out maybe more than once, maybe twice, even, then that could happen. But couldn't whatever is in the chairman's newsletter also be sent pre-formatted to the other supervisors to get out in their newsletters or in a standalone?
So I'm a little confused. So the chairman's letter is just something that's a bullet point for the report. That's
I'm talking about outreach.
Yeah, so outreach. So you're saying like we want something that supervisors can copy and paste and put into Facebook posts and emails and all that?
Yeah, in particular newsletters that come out of their offices.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, so my follow-up comment is that I think, I think I saw Brian Worthy from OPA on the call. Yeah, he's still here. And what I was going to suggest is that to kind of get the ball rolling, that we ask for a little bit of, for some of Brian's time to put together a communications strategy plan. And part of that plan would include like a 1-paragraph blurb for the supervisors, to that effect. Lisa, I think you're right. Like we need, we want this to get out in in Chairman McKay's daily, or weekly, whatever, and then the supervisors, and also that would be the start of that would be something useful for the content of an eventual mailer if we wanted to request that something like that was put together.
Right, it could be repurposed for sure, but I'm just saying, like, maybe we can come up with a page. The supervisors are largely willing to include paragraphs in their newsletters, but things get, unless we say it's going to be a priority and bubble it up at the front. They're also willing to they do their monthlies, but they will send out standalone newsletters as well. And we could have a dedicated piece that we create one time and that we use for everything. And we ask the chairman's office if he would kindly message his colleagues to include this in their messaging and as much as and often as they can.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I guess my next question is who's drafting that one pager?
I think there's many of, I don't want to volunteer anybody else, but I'm happy to work with Brian on that. If there's somebody else that would like to join me, like Janae's good at this. Sorry, Janae, calling you out there. I'd be happy to help, if, Brian, I don't know how you feel about starting a shell and then just sending us something based on you can take language that's already been used in the documents that were shared by Nate with us, right? Like, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Janae, you probably have something you've already used for communication that we just need to reorder and repurpose and just say, this is our mission, our purpose. Here's what we're trying to do. It's made up of these people, can reach out to any of us at any time, but we would really like public input. This is about you and for you and what we want to be and how we see our future.
And then the way they would reach out is they would reach out directly to their supervisor.
Well, that's to be determined. I mean, they can reach out to I think it's twofold, right? They can reach out to their supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
Their supervisor can put them in touch with their appointee. We can also list ourselves and say, reach out to the supervisor or the person in your district. I think that's part of the messaging.
So this is Brian. I'd be very happy to pull together a draft and share that. And I think probably the most appropriate venue or group that people should express their opinions to is the committee. So we do have a email address that's been set up specifically for this. People can email. Right. They can also call or provide information by mail if they prefer to write something. And obviously they have opportunity here at your virtual meetings to provide any input.
Right. So I think if you draft it, we can put some color around it. That wasn't meant to be punny, but Janae. And anybody else who wants to join the effort. Because we worked on that one piece together last time for the RAC. It didn't hit a wide audience, but we had that flyer that I think Karen and I worked on is with you, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm happy to do something similar.
That would be awesome.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Lisa. Candy?
Well, I was going to do something modest on my own. I was going to draft up a little piece for the League of Women Voters, their electronic newsletter, along the lines of what was Lisa just outlined, and to some extent, but I was thinking I was also going to do it for my civic association. I know these are not large groups. The League of Women Voters of Fairfax is a fairly large group, and in that I was going to ask them to the members that read it to share that with their civic associations. Again, it was something that I felt I could do immediately, as opposed, I don't know whether that makes any sense or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, no, that's a great point that I almost forgot. So thank you, Candy. Everyone should be communicating this to, within their respective districts, networks, Facebook, anything. So Candy, by all means, put together, whatever you can, share it with the league.
I now that we're talking about it, I think it makes sense to wait for the, to wait for so we're all singing the same.
I wouldn't wait if you're already doing something, and do that and make this something extra. I mean, Brian, you came up with a graphic. We put the graphic out on Facebook. We put it up on our own social media sites. I put it up on all mine. Paul, you did too. George, I think you did. And so we can also have a graphic that depicts what we're trying to do with some messaging. I would like to create something for everyone that's plug and play, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have our own personal high touch in our own voices, right?
Okay.
Because the more you message, the better response you'll get. And small or large, if we get 10 more people, that's 10 more people than we would have had.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
I think that's this is Brian again. I think that's a fantastic idea. And, again, you all have very wide networks. We in the Government Center don't necessarily know the people that you know or belong to the organizations that you belong to. So the more that you can tap those networks and get the word out, I think that would be great. And of course, we'll, as Lisa's suggesting, develop some plug and play materials for you.
Brian, the only thing I would ask that we didn't do, I'm going to say it again. I said I'm going to beat a dead horse. We didn't do such a great job of this at the RAC, and the RAC was like, it was important that we let me put it positively, that we take that lesson learned. So can we also really, I don't know how this works, but I think we could have highlighted it more on Twitter as well, and on our own Fairfax County social media sites, and get maybe our boards, authorities, and commissions to do the same to the extent they have presence. Whatever we send out, we should make sure that our backs send out too.
Yes, absolutely. And, we certainly did do Facebook and Twitter posts during the first phase of redistricting, and plan to do that again. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
just if we could do it more than once, like maybe 2 or 3 times, I think that would help, because they see it, then they see it again, they remember it, it's hammering people with it a little bit more frequently, not just a one-time drill.
Just a note on
I'm sure
that.
You've noticed we've been promoting the meetings on Twitter pretty vigorously. So we have lesson learned.
Awesome. I'll go to look at that now. I'm sorry, I'm remiss.
Just a note on that, the paid, it was around a $10K per week price tag for paid advertisements on Facebook. So just a note there that that's kind of there are some limitations on that. We want great outreach, but it's not. We saw what happened with the first rack and how there was a dearth of public input kind of throughout the process, despite our best efforts to reform that towards the end, and even with $10,000 a week being spent on paid advertisements, that we might not get that this time, so we might be kind of seeing a similar situation. So I don't want to set expectations too high and be disappointed again, but that's not to say that we shouldn't try as best, as hard as we can. So, okay, want to make sure we get out of here on time. So I think the action items are Brian is going to draft a shell. Lisa and Janae are going to work on coloring some of the lines. I think Candy.
And someone else. Who else was that? It was Lisa and I and.
I only heard the two of you. Candy did say that she was going to draft something. She was planning on it, but she's going to hold off.
I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Was that
She's
you?
going to go ahead and then use ours too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And please do, everyone reach out to your networks. Easiest is Facebook, of course, just to share the link that we're having our meetings. If we get 5 people in here that want to get involved, that's a win. Well, that's a step in the right direction. So with that, I motion to adjourn.
I second.
Sam seconds. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Have a terrific weekend. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you on Tuesday.